I'm Katie Legrone inside one of Florida's largest hospitals where exhaustion and sadness continues to take its toll on frontline workers here. At Tampa General Hospital, the pandemic is simply overwhelming workers here.
I think it's hard to put into words.
This is like nothing I've done in my career, and I have been in healthcare through some very significant events.
COVID hospitalizations continue to peak, with new patients coming in younger, sicker, more than 91% of them unvaccinated.
We can have patients up to 15 liters of oxygen.
And all of them desperate.
That's a lot of oxygen. Normally people are on 2, 4, 6 liters.
This is the hospital's complex medicine unit, typically dedicated to serve general medical patients. It's also one of 10 units in the hospital that were flipped to serve COVID-only patients. In this unit alone, there are 30 beds. All 30 beds are right now filled with COVID patients.
When you're COVID positive, you can't have family members come visit you.
Nurse manager Ty Breeder leads the unit where death is part of what they train for. But for the past month, it's become too common.
We had a patient pass away last night. We have a patient on the unit now that just recently came. So yes, I would say regularly.
Around the hospital, death to a single disease is shattering records and taking its toll. In the 17-bed ICU, also converted to serve only the COVID sick.
Okay.
It was another tough morning for veteran nurse manager Sabrina Ridout.
Today was a tough day. I actually have a family that's on their way in now.
Across the state, there are early signs of hope. Hospitalizations are down to nearly 15,000 from a summer peak. Statewide, new admissions have also dropped from the previous week.
Very encouraged by what we are seeing, that we could be seeing finally the decline.
I hope it's peaked. I pray it's peaked.
To the front line, it's something to hold on to when the day-to-day continues to be almost unbearable.
To watch that family member say their last goodbyes to their family, that's the hardest part for me. It's been a rough day, but yeah, that's our new normal.
A new normal all the frontline workers we spoke with say comes with an incredible amount of frustration given the availability and success of the vaccination. Still, so many in our state remain reluctant to take.
COVID-19 through the eyes of some of our youngest nurses. Florida 24 investigator Katie Legrone introduces us to two young nurses who had barely graduated from nursing school before they were each thrown onto the front lines of the pandemic.
None of us were ready for it. Not for a virus we knew so little about and killed so quickly. Now imagine being a young, new graduate whose first job,
I pray all the time,
put you in the middle of this global pandemic, trying to keep infected patients alive.
It still doesn't feel real.
Nia Gand is a young nurse at Tampa General Hospital who has spent most of her career caring for patients infected with the virus of the century.
Never in my nursing career would I have expected to have to go through these changes and have to go through a pandemic.
28-year-old Sierra also has just over 2 years under her nursing belt, 18 months of it defined by extra layers of PPE.
so everybody here is COVID. Yes.
An ICU nurse, her unit has been deluged with so many COVID sick, the hospital recently converted it to COVID patients only.
I pray before I walk into any room to give me the courage to take care of these 6 patients.
For these young nurses, the last 6 weeks has taken the heaviest toll since the pandemic began.
Because we didn't have to be there. This could have been prevented. It's rough when you put your all into it and you don't have that support from the outside of making it better.
Most of their patients now are unvaccinated, young, some younger than they are.
One is 19.
The 19-year-old?
Yes.
all of them facing uncertain futures.
They're scared. That's where we come in to hold their hand and say, everything's going to be okay, even though we can kind of see where they're heading towards.
On the day we spoke with Sierra, she had 2 patients not expected to make it through the day.
We're definitely not just used to seeing deaths as often.
Death for young nurses doesn't typically happen so early, so fast, so often.
Literally, you're just seeing this patient just go downhill before your eyes over the course of 12 hours. And it's just crazy how fast it happens.
It has made me more grateful for life, for sure. Every breath that I take, I'm grateful for it because someone can lose their life. And I've seen it.
It's definitely a calling to do this profession.
Do they regret it?
Sometimes you have to think back as to why you started, and that helps you come back the next day.
And will help them never forget what they were a part of so soon after they entered the real world.
How will you describe this experience to them? I'm not sure. I'll just tell them it was rough and crazy times, and we did unimaginable things, and as a nurse, we had to stretch pretty thin and do a lot of things to save patients, and it was a scary time for everyone.
Katie LaGrone, Florida 24 Network.